Welcome back to Soul Purpose with Shemama. This is your host, Shenora Lechleidner, also known as Shemama the Underwire Slayer, also known as this girl ain't got it together this week. I told you guys that we are going to have honest conversations, and the last time I recorded was probably almost weeks ago. I lost the microphone. So I came in the house ready to record, thinking that I had put it in one place, and it was not there. Yeah, it's fine. Everything is fine. I want to share more about some of the things that have been giving me hope. Hope in Christ, hope in humanity, believe it or not, and just some of the testimonies as far as how we overcome as a family, how I overcome as a woman. And I'm not going to be here long with you, but I wanted to make sure that I stayed consistent in this season because I know that I'm not the only one that is going through, and I know I'm not the only one who has a testimony. And I just want to encourage a few of you, to share yours as well. So this week we're going to talk about hope and consideration. One of the favorite passages that I share with the kids is consider one another. And, kids are naturally selfish. They are. And my kids are absolutely amazing, but they do have, just like us adults, some moments where they are naturally selfish and they're not necessarily thinking about how their choices may affect the people around them. For instance, I have a middle child who is slower than molasses. She is a sloth. And I don't even think that at this point that she does it on purpose. It's just the way that she responds to getting out of the house and all those things. Her mind just goes and goes and goes. And we wind up being almost late, like every single day. Now, there are some times when she wakes up and she is on it. But then there are days where it's just like, you be like, have you done this before? But what I tell her is, you have to consider how your choices affect other people. And sometimes it's not necessarily out of selfishness. I had a community event a couple of weeks ago, and I had to cancel because I had mandatory training at work. But I felt so bad because I knew that this last minute change would impact the way that they had to find other volunteers. And then my backup had to cancel too. And I was just like, oh, I felt so bad. There's nothing that you can do about it. But there are some areas as far as consideration that I think we tend to overlook, especially when the political climate is crazy, the economy is crazy, and our own personal lives are a little crazy, right? But there's always a moment to look around and make sure you're not just focusing on your own issues and to be able to consider one another. So I'm going to give you a story that happened yesterday, actually, that I was so grateful that the kids were with me and they were able to experience this. I love it when my kids see what humanity is doing well because I believe that it will influence them that when they become adults that they will operate in this way as well. We went to church, had a great time, and one of the ways of consideration there is that we're in a financial class, and there were some women in this class that shared some of their tools as far as how they do their budget and a program and things like that. So they didn't have to consider us when doing that, but they did, and now everyone is going to benefit. So after we left church, we were on the way to the gas station. I needed gas, and I have been teaching my almost 10-year-old. He's going to be 10 when you guys hear this episode or watch this episode. His birthday is February 25th. And so I have been teaching him how to pump gas now that he is of age. And before we could get to the gas station, we were in the left-hand lane, and I noticed that there was a car that was not able to turn left. Now I'm like 4 or 5 cars back, so I can't tell if this person is just scared or something is really going on, because we didn't miss like 2 lights. And the traffic was steady, but there were plenty of opportunities for them to turn into the gas station. There's a man who I am assuming, but I don't want to overly assume that he is homeless. I just know that he had a sign up because he was in need. The sign said that he was in need of food and identification. And he put his sign down and was just like waving to the guy, like, "Are you okay? Like, what do you need?" And he eventually opened the door, the driver, and said, "I can't move." So the guy that was in need dropped his sign and ran out into the street and said, "I will push your car." Now, there were, like I said, 3 or 4 people in front of me, but it was this guy who was already in need who said, "Let me consider this brother so that the traffic can keep going on." So he started pushing, and then eventually a man that was like behind this car that was stalled, he was like, "Oh, that's what's happening." He jumped out and helped them push this young man into the gas station. And then the young man, bought the guy who was in need, he bought him something to drink, and, he got back to it, like it was like business as usual. But I was telling the kid, they was like, "What's happening?" And I told him, I said, "Listen, this man, he doesn't have what he needs, but he still saw somebody else in need and decided to act upon it." And it wasn't like he knew that he was going to get something for that. It was just he was in the right place at the right time. And I said, "See, that's what it means to consider one another." And I think sometimes us, as humanity, we feel like our situation is so heavy that we can't consider other people, even if it's in the minor ways. And that's just not how we were meant to operate. There's going to be times when the person you least expected is going to be the first one to help. Now, let's drive it home to my personal life, because we're going to be sharing a little bit more transparently here. I have a friend who I have known for over 15 to 20 years, I believe. And we met through another mutual friend, but this particular friend has always been what I've considered my low maintenance friend. And low maintenance means that there were some years where we could only talk like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but it was like, nothing ever left, nothing ever changed. And this person has always empowered me to make sure I'm taking care of my mental health, and not just preaching, but also living what I'm preaching as far as it concerns, taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. It's no secret that our family is still like recovering from being unhoused, and it wasn't that we were out on the street, but it was the fact that we had no place to live as a family of 5, and we had to be creative as far as how to get shelter for our kids, which is expensive. I'm just gonna it's so expensive, and it's challenging because I'm a mom of 3 kids who needs to be the first line of defense because of the hours that my husband works. He's in a trade, and you don't necessarily get 9 to 5 hours when you're in a trade. So it's been challenging to get full-time work, being that I have to be mom. That's neither here nor there. This person will tell me like what's going on in their lives. And I have to be honest with you, they have overcome a lot of unfair situations, to the point where there were some times where I wouldn't even say what we were going on, because I just felt like, their issues were more important or more serious than ours were. But it got to a point where we had an honest conversation. She was like, "You have to be able to. We have to be able to trust each other with the heart, no matter how hard it is." And so we do, and we tell each other certain things, and we encourage each other, in faith. And she had a really huge home like situation where one of the appliances broke, and just like one thing after another. And she was like, "No, what's going on with you?" And I said, "Oh, we've got, this to do, that to do." And I'm just telling her about, how we have these financial obligations for our kids that is just, it's kind of heavy right now. And she immediately sends me Cash App or Apple Pay. I don't know which one it was. And I'm like, wait, what are you doing? And she goes, "Hush up. This is for the kids. It's not for you." And I said, "But what about what you're going through? How are you going to get out of your situation?" And she goes, "You cannot dictate how you get help. You can't control that. I will be fine. You have children in the home." And I'm just like, but and when I'm looking at her situation, I'm like, I feel like I should be the one helping her. But she's like, "No, you do this." And it just so happened to be that it was right on time. It always is. And she does this, and I'm not going to like name drop, but I used to like say, "Oh no, I'm sending this right back," or "Yeah, I'm gonna block you," right? And she goes, "Why would you block God's blessings? You cannot control the vessel." So I'm getting a little bit better, but I'm like, this is what humanity is all about. And my children and her, they're like, "Shenora, you do the same thing." And I'm like, I know I do the same thing. But I just don't necessarily want other people to put themselves in a position where they're in need because they're helping me. But we can't control that. Back in the biblical days, when there was the Acts 2 church, they brought their resources together. I'm pretty sure there were people who felt like they were in a worse situation or that their peers were in a worse situation. But this is the year, especially, where people are sharing resources. Sometimes it's knowledge. It's not always cash. It's not always money. Sometimes it's food. And I think that it's going to be so important for us to have this mindset. For me, my challenge is going to be uh, being able to receive without feeling like I have to double it back. I used to be like that. Like, I would receive, but I'm like, "I'm about to get you double, triple." I'm not in that season. I can just receive and not try to um, control how God wants to provide for us in this season. That's challenging. And I don't know if it's challenging for you. Maybe you have a steady support system where, if something goes awry, you can go home, or you can call on, one person that is just going to be there all the time. What I found is that there's special people who are able to consider our family without knocking the work that my husband is doing, without discounting, or saying, "Well, you guys should be doing this, or you guys should be doing that." They're like, "Hey, we see what you're doing, and we want to support it." And that is so amazing. It's so amazing how God places people in your life for the season that you're in. But you have to be open. And I truly believe that the reason why God is allowing people to consider me is because I consider others. It's His grace and His mercy, of course. But God has given me a special gift to see those who are normally not seen. even in my own hardship. That's the way to have hope in humanity. Consider others and watch someone else consider you. I hope that you do that this week. Consider someone else. It doesn't have to be money. You can just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Or, did you finish that project that you said that you were going to finish? How can I help? I promise you, it will, whatever funk you're in, it will help. Helping others will boost your mood. And we'll be able to have strength to go another day. Consider somebody else. And then tell me about it. I want to know. You can inbox me, Shenora Lechleidner on Facebook, or email me. All my links are on myshemama.com. I want to hear from you. Have a great week. I love you, and I mean it.